I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 23. Thorfinn and Einar are currently surrounded by Canute and his men. What words will be spoken? What ideologies might be spread?
I don't imagine there being more than words happening here.
Fighting?
He's like, you can, are you going to fight me right now? I don't think that's going to happen. They could surprise me, honestly. I am thinking more words, but who knows?
I wonder what will be said specifically from Einar in terms of like his perspective on things because of how instrumental he was in building Thorfinn up as a character this season.
And we already have seen at the end of last episode that Einar is perfectly ready to be outspoken right now in front of Canute. So,
you ready?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Do you have nervous energy?
Ever?
Not ever. That's not what I meant. I meant like right now in the narrative.
I'm just excited.
I don't necessarily feel scared.
I know he's only one person, but I'm glad that Omar will be here and present for a conversation with the ideologies that Canute and Thorfinn have. I think that, again, although he's only one person, knowing his decision and what he made in opposition to Thorkel, I don't know. I like him being present for it. Beautiful. Two paths. Whew.
Might makes right. Is Canute hearing this right now?
Yeah.
Why did you reveal your truth? Why?
Oh,
Thorfinn.
the sun. There's only control.
Is it possible to ever cast that off? He's a threat.
This is fucking biblical, bro.
I know. Everyone is surprised.
Remember what he said. Admirable. It's almost like Canute doesn't want him to be leaving here. What? That's like genuine. Oh, the POV. Oh.
Wow.
これほどくだらない和平交渉は初めてだ。逃げるか。ああ。バイキングの中から
Whew.
このような
Oh my lord.
美しい男だ。
It's like this gives him hope. It's like he gave Canute hope for his ideals.
ここじゃないどこかだ。前に教えることはできない。
Beautiful. Oh my
我
god.
が半島は広がり続けている。世の力が及ぶかもしれんぞ。逃げられるだけ逃げてやるさ。逃げる先があるうちは王の力が届かない場所に。お前とは違うやり方で、お前の作る世界では生きていけ
For
な
the
い人
people
た
who
ち
can't live in the world you create.
お前と
For you
俺
and
自身
for
のために
me.
も。
Oh man.
世の事業の
Look at how dark it is now.
You'll fill the hole.
My work cannot.
そなたに
I would
俺の
trust.
力は
So
お
much
前より
smaller
ずっ
than
と小さい
yours.
んだ。深い穴は手に負えねえ。人々を迫害し続けるなら、そのうち誰にもお前を助け。お前も努力しろ。俺の仕事を増やすな。
This is amazing.
まったくが回るようになったものだ。似たのであろう
Who
な。
did you take?
面白い。これほど
Such
難しい
challenging.
交渉は初めてだ。
Man.
What?
こりゃどこ
Wait, did they actually leave?
ふざけんなよ。まだ決着は
Wait, did he go? He went
ついてねえだろうが。
down. No. He didn't see. I'm so.
不満を漏らしておりました。手を引く理由がわからんと。
You need to try harder.
ウルフ。
Score is.
He's not dissatisfied.
あ
Oh.
の農場を接収する計画も白紙に戻す。トルフィンの仕事を増やしては悪いのでな。共に戦う者はそなたぐらいしかおらぬと思っていた。新たな仲間を得た。
イングランド財政を
Wow.
駐英デンマーク軍に命じる。クヌート直属のデンマーク人部隊はの艦隊のみとなった。
Limiting the oppression. Taking care of his own people. Oh.
だが危惧されたイングランドで起こらなかった。手放すことでイングランドの諸侯はクヌートの信頼を知り、非征服者の関係が
Oh
変
my
化し
god.
ようとしてい
The
た。
middle part now. God damn.
良い気分だ。
It's not
Is it
over
o-
yet.
it's-
It's not.
I
That'd be
I
so
want it to
crazy.
end so I can be like, this is the best episode I've ever oh my god. Ah, you humble man. Sleeping on
The fact
straw
that he's still sleeping. Oh my.
Ah.
Is Einar at the grave? Or are we going somewhere else?
Oh.
The number holds significance.
イズさんが息を引き取るとき、すぐに答えられなかった。地獄を生き、死に安らぎを求める魂にどんな言葉をかけられるって言うんだ。
Oh my god.
生きろと言える世界が欲しい。死ぬ以外救いを持たない人たち、胸を張って語れる死の魅力を超えた。
A place more appealing than death. This is in great contrast to what was told to Canute in season 1.
As someone who
Oh.
didn't want to.
それだけよ、みんな求めていたのに。飲み込めやしない。どこにもないならないなら作る。エイナ、兄弟、
Brother,
一緒に来い。
come with me.
フィンランドに平和な国を作るんだ。アルネイズさんに胸を張って語れるような。
やろう。
Oh my god.
God, it feels so good when the characters call each other brother.
It's not often this deserved. Oh my
Look at their hands.
god.
And we always got
Woo!
shots of Arnade's hands too. Oh, that's perfect.
I literally just had like a vision of Arnade being opaque, having like, yeah, her hand on theirs.
This feels like a dream. Patcher lived! He's alive! Take Snake with you.
旦那や農場のみんなには若旦那が王を説得したってことにして。
Ah,
助かります。
wow. Interesting
アルネイズの
choice.
墓は任せなさい。
Oh my
私が
god.
守る。
Can you make a character better?
本当にありがとう。
いや、
トルフィン、俺はあなたのようになりたい。あなたのような強くて優
A
しい
real man.
本物の男に。
Mm.
オルマルさん、あなたは戦いをやめる決断をしたと聞きました。素晴らしいことです。俺は
Oh,
やってしまった。
Omar getting his flowers from Thorfinn here. Jesus.
でも
Oh.
言ったはずじゃ。ただの契約だと。礼を言われる筋合いはない。
Jesus.
銀10区でも
Wow.
欲しかったんだけど。俺の名はロワルド。
Oh.
ありがとう、ロワルドさん。
皆さん、お元気で。
A Snake name reveal? Gosh, why are they gotta do this to me? Oh, why are they gotta
fuck.
do this to me? Oh, is that the girl?
Yup.
And
It's
he's
legit-
actually working
carve
in
it.
the field.
Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me? Carve it! Episode 1! Season 2, baby.
The blisters.
Carve it into your flesh. Carve it into the land.
つうか、兄貴はいつになったら働くんだよ。うっせえな。ちょっと休んでただけだろ。
Oh man.
I love that they're all working Spherical's land.
Yeah. Oh. Carve what you feel into me.
無数も苦痛もこの世の断りだと。
Oh, look at them sprouting.
あのような者たちを
Oh,
目にできるとはな。
me either.
アルネイズ、彼らは向かったよ。私たちが想像もしなかった世界へ。
We keep seeing the birds over the water like the beginning of the intro.
どこかへ。
Okay, that was Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 23. Okay. That was my favorite episode, I think, of the entire series. But obviously you don't get that episode without every other episode within this entire series. I have so much appreciation for this episode and this story that is Vinland Saga and how perfectly crafted specifically Season 2 is. Carve what you feel into me was like the first thing, one of the first lines of dialogue we hear in Season 2, Episode 1 before we see Einar for the first time.
It's
really
poetic, it's powerful, it's almost mysterious in terms of like, as a viewer, you enter in hearing this and you're trying to unpack it and what significance these poetic words are going to hold in terms of themes or narrative going forward.
Yeah.
And then to bring it back at the end and have it be like actually really resonating, more of an emotional response, where when you first hear it and you first start the season, it's like, oh, these are some nice words.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds good. And then now it's like tears, like, oh my god, this like hits so hard.
The visuals are so fantastic this episode, but above all else, it was the dialogue just destroyed, you know?
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of lines that I was a big fan of in this episode.
On Arnade's grave, it looked like there were 5 flowers.
Yes.
So, I'm gonna say Arnade, Einar's mom, Einar's sister, Lota, I'm gonna say Garter and Hjalti, because they both died on the farm too.
No, like the other son, not Hjalti.
Oh, no, not Hjalti, sorry. The unborn child that was Ketil's son. But I could be wrong there. Those two I'm not as sure about.
Right. I like the idea of Garter being one of them, but I feel like if Garter is one of them, then for some reason I feel like that would be weird to leave. Like, I know Einar met Garter but didn't meet Hjalti, but I feel like that excluding of Hjalti but including all 3 other members of his family would be a little wild to me. So I'm gonna go with who, in my mind, Einar would view as his family. And to me, I think that if Arnade had kept the will to live, Einar, having known she was pregnant during this time, he was, before obviously the baby died, he was like full on like, I'm gonna help Arnade get out of here, I'm gonna help her keep this baby safe. There was a lot of like love that he had for Arnade, that he was going to be whatever these two, this unborn child and its mother, needed. He was going to be there for them. So I feel like he would view both of them as like a loss of a family member. And so I have in my mind mom and sister, his dad, and then this unborn baby and Arnade.
Interesting.
So who he would view as his family that has
well.
died. But I do really like the idea of including Garter, but my only issue is then where's the flower for Hjalti?
Yeah. When we get the blackened, darkened visual early on in the episode, when you see Canute and his father's head and Thorfinn standing in opposition, but you can see like the muted sun behind Thorfinn. It's so interesting to depict it that way, because I would have almost expected it to be complete darkness in the vein that it was going to turn into something like a sheep, and how they were encapsulating Canute's position as the shepherd, you know? And I think it's so fascinating that light stays present. even while in this like illusion of Canute. I think it's a really interesting choice. And then met with the dialogue, surely you don't expect that you will understand each other. Oh, it's so rewarding to read that now for the second time after this episode ends. If you intended to use your authority to force your way, and then it was just like, he's dangerous, kill him. A single sheep can lead the entire flock off of a cliff. Do your job as a king. And just the, I will run. Like, I had so many, like, tidal waves of emotion flooding over me when you hear that. Because on one hand, like, an initial just, like, body reaction, it was, like, smile in, like, a, this is rewarding and almost humorous in a light way. But with how much weight it has in when learning of, in season 1, how the people of Iceland came to be there, Thorfinn's impression of it and reaction to that was so fucking different. It's like it's just such a benchmark for the growth and maturity in a full circle way that Thorfinn has been able to express to not only us, but to somebody like Canute. You have Canute being in the carriage with the Thorfinn that still thinks that way to a degree of that there might be a shame in these people because they ran, but now you can, like, there's so much pride behind Thorfinn when he says that he will run. There's this assuredness, and you can see that there's no hidden tricks or like cards up the sleeve or anything of the such,
running
which makes
isn't
it
empty.
powerful. Yeah.
The running isn't empty. It's not like he is running and discarding everything in his that could get in his way or burden him in order to get himself purely alone to a goal.
Yeah.
He is going to run as far as he needs to before without the king's reach touching him. And if the king's reach leaves there no more room to run, then he will have to fight back. But running doesn't mean that he is going to actively try to self-preserve himself and not care about anything or anyone else, and it's all more a selfish or cowardly. Like, we always hear that word, or even in this show, the idea of running has been seen as cowardly, and it's being used here with knowing and knowledge of the viewer from having been watching this show all along, that run isn't necessarily what will be happening. It is not just an action of running. Like, you're not going to be running away from something. You are going to be within your power, trying to move around, avoiding any sort of battle or come to blows while still doing other work in order to build a better world. You're just going to basically be avoiding. You're going to be doing your own things, both trying to build this world together and separate, while kind of avoiding each other's paths. But you're allies in this. But I did want to talk about the head scene before we leave it.
Yeah, of course.
What it reminded me of, obviously, we all know what it means. I'm getting nervous now. So what it made me think of when we get the king's head talking to Canute, and we have Thorfinn with the kind of sunlight behind him, it was reminding me of, like, in a vampire movie, or like Scooby-Doo, or a devil or demon on your shoulder, where it's like this character is being persuaded, but then you pull back the curtain and the sunlight shines and they're like, they melt, like this evil villain. And what I felt in this scene was like, it was being confirmed for us, maybe even in a religious scope of viewing this show, what this headless father ghost that is following Canute really is. It is almost like a demon or a devil. It is something that is the crown. It is something that is trying to warp his ideals. And we get this really nice shot at the end of, like, Canute holding the crown as he's talking about the favorable things he is doing as a king, that we as a viewer can view as amazing choices, that he pulls back forces from England, and then the people end up reciprocating that, like, trust and meeting him and being very like, wow, he trusts us and there's no conflict. We only need 16 ships now. But he's holding that crown now, almost like he's gained the power back from it.
It's so fascinating because what that head is, what his father is, that has been this entire season, is not only like that evil head, but what I view it as is it was a vocalized destiny. It was a, this will happen. It's inevitable. I've been here and experienced it. It's only a matter of time for it until it happens to you. And when a character or a person like that in real life or a story makes such a confident, bold claim, regardless of your ideals and opposition of belief in that claim, if you spend years and years on end having very little people who are vocal in their agreement with you in that stance, it becomes easier and easier to fall and start maybe doubting the initial beliefs that led you to where you were. And you're starting to maybe see things line up like, oh, he's right, this could fit into that way. And then while leaving, him saying to Wolf, and then him saying to Wolf that it wasn't just them, he had allies. Like, that's the clarity, that's the burning up of the head, you know?
Right.
It was beautiful.
This is like almost like a manifestation of his own fears of like leaving his true goals and himself behind. And this, like, yeah, is that his destiny? That's what people are saying, that will inevitably be his destiny. That's what his father said the crown would do to him. He needs the power in order to shape the world the way that he wants to. But will the power truly corrupt him? And has it already started? He's in this echo chamber of, like, fear of, how do I hold on to myself? Who am I actually? His only real guiding light in his childhood died in season 1 in terms of like making him into the person that he was. And when he went through one of the biggest shaping moments of changing his mindset and his mental, he was alone. And it's like that isolation that he was creating. And you bring up Wolf, like that's literally where my mind was going, is that he confirms it for us, how alone he felt. That he felt he only had one person from both childhood to in that moment before this conversation with Thorfinn. Canute felt like he only had one person in this world that knew what he wanted to make this world into and was willing to stand by him and be happy about the choice that he makes. He's like, Wolf, are you disappointed? And Wolf's like, no, I mean, Floki's over there pissed as hell, but I like this choice.
I was just thinking about when the silence breaks to Canute's laugh, and it just gave me chills again. And like thinking about it alone. And also,
how did you read that? Sorry.
No, I just wanted to I can't, during the episode, I was like, why the fuck is there like a mirror dimension version of Einar right behind Einar? And I just couldn't stop looking at it.
That is kind of wild, yeah. Why do they both gotta have the same kind of green shirt with the little V-cut and brown hair?
It's almost like inverted Einar. Okay, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, what were your initial feelings before Canute started laughing, which was the moment that you had just brought up? When he kind of is like we get this view of him, like the camera's up here, and you're kind of seeing a little bit of the side of his face, and he's shaking a little bit and starting to like make some noises at Thorfinn walking away. Like, what were your initial feelings in that moment of what was transpiring here and how Canute felt?
Like, are you alluding to the potential of Canute acting in an opposite way and being like, stop him, or like not reacting in a very polar opposite way to how he did? I
guess I wasn't really expecting you to say something like that. I was more so like, did the laugh come as a surprise to you? Not necessarily the sentiment of like why he laughed and what was like his true feelings about it.
The laugh did not come as a surprise to me because of the language that was used before it. It was something that was so stark in difference to the Thorfinn that Canute knew, that it was like I was transported. For half a second I forgot everything that we saw Thorfinn go through this season, and what I would have expected Canute to assume Thorfinn to be like. And because of that, like there was like a holy shit. It's okay. Here's a great quote to encapsulate my feelings. Who did you take after? Like that is exactly how I felt like for like to try to get into Canute's like shoes before we got a response, because I was like, oh shit, what is it gonna be? And that's like I was like just disbelief, like holy shit, you know?
My focus was on like his movement was somewhat forward, like he was almost had this momentum of moving forward, and my first feelings were, oh, he's going to there's something in his body and in his mind where this conversation is not necessarily over, and it's almost like he either doesn't want Thorfinn to walk away, doesn't want him to walk away yet, or has something left to say.
Yeah.
Or something left for Thorfinn to hear narratively. That is also very important, because obviously there was something left that was very important for both of these characters to still continue on with this conversation.
I wanted to read a couple lines. I think that happened even before
there were great
Canute
lines.
Laughing. But in terms of Canute saying, like, really? Like, is that all you're gonna do into running? Thorfinn's like, do you want us to kill each other here? The paradise you describe helps many people while oppressing a few. That's how it works, right? I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, and I don't have the right to criticize your crazy ideas. Like, holy shit. Like, in breaking... I don't even know how you'd go about phrasing it. I just find it so compelling when somebody has an argument or a belief within themselves, and to try to convey that point to the other side, you start it off by acknowledging why they believe what they do and how it's understandable that they have that belief. Like, how do you have a fucking better idea? Because if you don't, this is the idea. This is how it's gonna work. I know it's gonna work. And it's like, you're right. I'm not gonna just make a bold claim with no like foundation under it. And with that, I think comes inspiration and belief and that look that Thor's had, that look that Canute had, you know?
It feels really, that idea of like, I don't have the right to criticize you, gives me these feelings of episodes ago when Thorfinn is not necessarily beating himself up, but rather he's trying to take moments as a learning experience. Like, could I have done something else? Was there another option than what we did in, you know, the situations with Garter? And then it also brings me to the end of this episode with Omar, where he's like, Omar, you became who you are, this person that's saying they want to be like me, within a day. It took me years.
Mm-hmm.
And giving him his flowers, as you said, that like this awareness that the character of Thorfinn has of both his own flaws, his own sins to atone for, his own, like, the skeletons that are hanging onto his shoulder, as well as being able to recognize that all people are a mixed bag of good and bad decisions. Mm-hmm. That he's like, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, this idea of a path that will be hopefully saving a bunch of people while only oppressing a small percentage of them. I don't know.
Man, okay, so I want to bring up two different lines right after each other. Could you write down 9:47 for me?
9:47.
Okay, 7 minutes and 7 seconds into the episode, we get Canute's reaction to Thorfinn saying, I've never participated in such ridiculous peace talks before. He says this after saying, like, you're foolish. You come here and get beaten just to talk to me, just to ask me this and walk away and no other backup plan. This is absurd. So
just to ask me to leave and be like, oh, well, you won't leave. So
I've never participated in such ridiculous peace talks before. And then 9:47, right? Mm-hmm. In a complete... I've never participated in such challenging peace talks before. Mm-hmm. Like, that's...
I like that we reiterated basically the same line, the same sentiment of the line, while changing ridiculous to challenging.
It's so beautiful.
It's so on purpose. It's so like specific and the compliments to the writing of Vinland Saga there. Like, that's not just like, oh, I'm gonna take a line and put it back in, lazy work. No, it's not. It's so specific.
Ridiculous, unorthodox methods being like the ones that could breed most possibility for a situation like this.
And what does it makes you think of, this is also a way that both Thorfinn and Canute were kind of taught to think.
Yeah.
Is to create these more unorthodox, these more not what everyone is used to type attacks against. The Vikings are very straightforward. They're going to come at you. They're not going to be using tricks. They're not going to be, you know, doing underhanded, like, secret stuff in the background.
Mm-hmm.
But both Thorfinn and Canute have kind of grown up through season 1, learning from an individual that wasn't a Viking, but was behaving with the Vikings and leading the Vikings, that was thinking this way, that was, like, showing them how much what in here could create either more chances for peace or more challenges for those that are resistant to your peace.
And like it comes to fruition in the line, so the Vikings are capable of producing someone like you. Now, okay, within so many themes in just nature and people, there's like such a vast scale of like simple to complicated, right? But whereas they are very far apart, I believe in some instances, instead of going here to here, it's more dynamic to make it almost like a circle, right? And you're saying that simple's here, and as it gets further and further away and more complicated's here, and they're kind of close to each other in a nonsensical type of way. And in the characterizations of Vikings, in terms of fighting and what they're doing and the horrors of what they're doing or what we've seen, and just, I want to fight, I want to die, you know, this
with the glory
spoils
on the
of war,
battlefield.
whatever. There is this, like, through the complexity of Thorfinn and the thinking that has had to happen and the growth that has had to happen, we land back at a simple execution of those beliefs of, I'm gonna try it, I'm gonna run. Like I wasted my time. And within that simplicity through complexity, I think is profound.
Mm-hmm. So the Vikings are capable of producing someone like you. What is the someone like you? We're gonna use the words of Olmar, a strong and kind, a real man.
Nothing has been as satisfying as seeing Olmar bearded up, pushing that
working
farm
in
equipment.
the fields.
Are you kidding
I mean,
me?
not only him, but Snake's men too, working on Spherical's farm.
You need to try harder. Don't make more work for me. And
That was so sassy. I loved it.
And the best part is now we know how it was received.
He
Like,
has
it was
his
like, I
arms
can't make more
crossed.
work for Thorfinn. Like, oh,
Gosh.
man.
I mean, honestly, I think this is like, as you said, most of this episode is basically rewarding the audience. It feels like we have been gifted that treasure chest that Thorfinn and Einar decided to not take with them on Leaf's ship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are getting rewarded by this. I remember in season 1, I kept waiting for the friendship arc. I kept waiting for this, Thorfinn's now the bodyguard of Canute. I was ready for them to have those conversations then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, ooh, it's gonna happen now that we have Thorfinn kind of front row seat to who Canute is. Canute is growing stronger within himself and changing.
Yeah.
This is like a really great situation dynamic for them both to be in. I can't wait to see what talks they have. That never was given to me. We ended up just having a come to blows with a scar on Canute's cheek by the end of season 1, and then a complete separation of these two characters that I was like, don't separate them yet. Please, I want to see what conversations they will have. Finally, I get to see what conversations they would have, and I'm glad that I was forced to wait in what conversations they would have, because obviously having these two characters be where they are now, having a conversation, is so much more rewarding.
I'm so glad that Canute knew Askeladd the way that he did in Thorfinn's growth. I think that Canute's understanding of Thorfinn and the change that occurred, a lot of that is partially attributed to the understanding of who Askeladd was, the lesson that was taught after Bjorn's death. I fucking adored that we see our revelation to seeing that Canute has left partially was given to us through Thorgil showing up as fucking like a one-man army kit and like ready to take on the entire world, and then strolling off as a vigilante looking like Batman.
He literally interesting through line there with the family that he is a part of, who his father is. Snake comes on to Ketil's farm as this traveled man that can't go by his real name, who's looking for a specific person, and chooses to settle down there because Ketil welcomes him in. And now Ketil's son is doing the same thing that Snake, who we know Snake was decorated. We know Snake had a fancy ass sword. We know that Snake was like a leader and he was important in the fights that he was fighting. And we know that Thorgil was one of the king's men.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's like Thorgil has become what Snake and his men are currently. Hopefully he finds a nice little farm to settle on and protect, and he has some really great moments there with an old man who also wants to gift him an expensive Bible when he dies.
Roald, son of Grimm. God, I didn't, you know what? Shame on me for not, like, even in, like, before we sat down to watch this episode, to be like, that's what I need before we leave here too. That's another thing that I need.
Because it was given so much attention.
I know.
Because you think about like the moment that was there was like, oh, the ship is already far away, but it's still close enough that you could yell and they could still hear you. That's like this movie moment.
Yeah.
That is like whatever is going to come out of your mouth is going to be like, I love you. Like something like really big. And for it to be something that as a viewer, I didn't even like think that I would ever get. And then it was just his name, but it's not just his name. There's so much significance to him, what it would mean for him to tell them his real name, what they meant to him for him to tell them that.
The change and inspiration that was given to Olmar through Thorfinn is one thing, but the change and inspiration given from Thorfinn to Roald, son of Grimm, Snake, to enact that change is another thing in its entirety.
The three men on the dock waving goodbye to them. I want nothing but the best for in this world. Ketil deserves to be on his porch crying. He deserves to be a sad man sitting on his porch crying. He literally beat Arnaid to death and killed his own child within her in a fit of rage of feeling like everything was being taken from him and the inability to cope with his own past trauma.
Yeah. I love that we got not only like the departing of these people, but I thought it was so brilliant to bring up what this influenced of Canute's future actions, right? He disbanded the Danish army that was stationed within England, and then the English uprising people feared, which is why the army was established, never happened.
Why we were going to take the farms.
Yeah, exactly, because the nobility realized that, like, Canute put trust within them, and like that. Oh, great. Absolutely love it.
And that, like, I brought up the crown earlier, but like that's the moment that he looks at the crown less like this is this thing that has control over him, and when he puts it back on and like you noted the middle part, it's much more like, yeah, I'm the king and this is my crown. I am not the crown's like next person, you know? It is mine, and I'm gonna do this how I want to do this. It does not shape my actions and dictate my actions. He seems almost so much more peaceful in his face.
God, chills everywhere, man. Okay. One of the most devastating episodes of this entire series was Arnaid's death, right?
Yes.
Like, fuck, it sucked. And paired with it, there was emphasis on Thorfinn's interaction with Arnade there. And that to be brought up here, I couldn't tell her why she had to live. What am I supposed to say to a soul that's been through hell and yearns for the peace of death, which completely, like, instantly throws me back to, I want to say, season 1, episode 18? It's when Canute and the priest were talking about love, and the priest was describing it that it comes within death. And I thought that was fucking crazy, first of all. But what made it was Thorfinn's response after that, like, look in his eye lights up and he punches his hand. I want a world where I can tell people to live. One I can proudly describe to people whose only salvation is death. God damn it, dude. A place more appealing than death.
Mm-hmm.
This season, I feel like, has changed my life.
This fact that,
I ever wanted.
gosh, you brought up a really great idea, like, with bringing up the priest. I think especially with this conversation of what Thorfinn says here, we got this idea in religion that you go to a priest for advice, for who you should be, and to atone for the sins that you have done. They help you figure out what to do going forward and how to feel about the world and yourself. That's kind of one of the jobs in their job description, that they're almost this wise tome of, like, how to live in this world under God and in his image. And to have Thorfinn as this character, where before it was just this drunk priest, you know, that was talking to Canute. And I remember when we first were introduced to him, it's like, why would you trust and listen to this drunk priest who doesn't seem to really be advocating for any of the ideals of his religion and trying to help any of these people.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we have Thorfinn being like, now I am able and equipped, and not something that people will find annoying or like, where's your room to talk here? Like, he has the awareness that, like, I have lived through things. I have gone through changes myself. I am proud that I would now be able to articulate myself better and be able to actually use the right words to reach someone and make them see a world worth living in. It's not like that he feels confident that he himself would not just be talking at someone, that he could really open up himself and his heart with his words to them, and they could truly see what he wants them to see.
Yeah. How many episodes were in season 1? 24?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want there to be an end to Vinland Saga, but if there is, and it is next episode, I'm glad that it's next episode and not this episode for 2 reasons. One, it would need to be the end of the season, at least, for what I believe is going to happen. But 2, I don't even know if there would be more Vinland Saga or what would happen, you know, after the season. But my thought process being, what started this was Leif's promise to bring Thorfinn home.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna happen
The
next
whole
episode.
series,
it needs to happen.
Yeah, the whole series started with Thorfinn leaving home. And then
Leif's
the end
promise,
of
course.
season 1 has Leif finally finding him to bring him home, and he doesn't go home.
Yep.
And now the end of season 2 is the same, like, Leif coming and finding him. Let's go home. We need to finally go home. On your thought of, is there anything after that? I feel like what I've been given so far could stand alone and wouldn't need to be continued.
Completely.
I feel like going forward, if it was continued, it would be a story of what it would be like with Canute and Thorfinn being allies to shape the world in a more peaceful way while not having contact with each other and just moving pieces away from each other.
Yeah.
But we had a sum up of what Canute's future actions were, and then we returned back to him on the ship leaving Ketil's farm. So that would give me evidence that there wouldn't be anything further, since we do see, like, what would probably be months in the future. of him kind of getting the Danish armies out of England and how the nobles end up feeling, the fact that he doesn't requisition any more farmland.
I have to pull out my Vinland Saga Season 1 notebook. My last prediction that I'm going to make for next episode, we're going to get home. Fucking the man himself, Ari, is going to pop out of their house with Ylva. They're going to be together.
I really hope that both his sister and his mom are still alive.
But, like, think about the conversation Ari had with Thors.
I know.
About Ylva.
The fact that Ari was
literally full circle.
He probably, honestly, if he did end up marrying Thorfinn's sister, imagine how much guilt that man might feel in his, like, even once maybe they started having kids, that he didn't focus more on the fact that there was a child on board that ship, and he was much more like, I'm gonna get my swing in here.
I often, like, don't give credit to the works that I'm reading or watching that I would expect them to go so far to complete it in such a fulfilling way that goes full circle with not just one story plot, but so many. But it's shown time and time again, especially in this episode and last, why I would trust for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, even more so, Einar's going.
Yeah.
And he lost his sister and his mother.
Fuck. But then it's
at the beginning of this season.
But then it could be this episode calling each other brothers or alluding to Einar being with Ylva. And then them actually being brothers.
Ooh.
I don't know what I want more.
I don't know. I feel really bad for Ari at that point.
Ari could be dead.
No, I think he's probably supposed to be more like an Olmar type character.
Ari tries to go to war. Oh yeah,
arc?
yeah, interesting. Huh. All right, that's all I have. God, what a masterpiece! I'm so happy. We took a break a bit for my own mental health before. This is like our first thing that we've watched back, like that I've felt really present, and I'm so happy. I'm so glad about it. Like, I feel like this is going to stay with me forever. What a fucking beautiful show. All right, you good? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.